Hello, everyone. My name is Nila Reze, and I'm a clinic account manager at Cryos International, and I work with the UK and Ireland and Greece. And I'm here today with Lisa Snell, and Lisa is married to Lynsey, and they live in London and have a beautiful baby boy called Teddy, um, who they conceived with the help of a sperm donor and IVF treatment. Together they have a channel on YouTube with extremely many followers. It's called Teddy Has Two Mams. And we've gathered some questions for Lisa today, both from our Instagram page as well as our Facebook group, from our clients and our followers, to ask Lisa about their journey and how it went for them to have a baby together. So welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. I'm really excited. I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to these questions.
great. We are too. We'll take it as it goes, and we can, yeah, you can add on anything you think is relevant. So I'll just go start with it. The first question we have is, have you always known you've wanted children?
Yeah, I think so. I think there wasn't like a big conversation about it, but I think it was just, we just always knew. It was like, do you want kids? Yeah. Oh, well, I want them too. Oh, well, then that's fine. So it wasn't ever a kind of a big conversation, I guess, because we were both in agreement. So yeah, we always knew that that would be something that we wanted in the future.
Yeah.
I think we were more certain about babies than getting married.
Okay.
We kind of, the getting married part, as much as I love being married and I'm very happy to be married, that was mostly influenced by having babies. And not that it is absolutely necessary to be married, you know, to have those extra legal protections when you're having a baby in the same kind of circumstances as we did, but it does give you an extra layer of protection,
right.
So that you are able to be named on the birth certificate. So I am officially Teddy's second parent. I'm actually first on the birth certificate.
Okay.
In the UK on a normal birth certificate, it's father first and then mother. So obviously there is no father on Teddy's birth certificate, but mother is in the same place. So I'm above Lynsey as parents, which she was furious about.
Yeah.
She couldn't believe that she'd put in all that effort, and
because
then
to our
I was
viewers, let
first.
me explain that Lynsey is the one that carried the baby, and since you're married, you're both the parents. But how did you decide that? How did you decide who was going to carry the baby? Is it something that you had discussed, or?
Yeah, well, there's a very practical reason why Lynsey had Teddy, and that is because she is just a little bit older than I am. So in terms of, and we are not of an age where we had a lot of time on our hands, shall we say. We've been honest, you know, it's no big secret, but Lynsey was 41 when she conceived Teddy, and I'm not quite 40 yet, but not far off. And so she knew that she wanted to biologically have her own child. She wasn't entirely convinced that she wanted to carry, and I think she would have absolutely loved to have done reciprocal IVF, but at the time when we were first looking into IVF, it wasn't quite, we didn't have, you know, it just was, the circumstances weren't quite right. So she went through with the fertility treatment, and that's how we decided. And we also knew that we both wanted to raise each other's children. So it was important for us both that we both biologically had a child.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense, and we hear that from other parents or same sex couples, that usually the one that is older goes first, because then you have more time to.
That clock is ticking.
It is, and it is
loud and clear.
Yeah. Did you, this is another question we got, can you recommend any good clinics, and of course affordable?
The clinics recommendation is an interesting one, because there's so much that goes into choosing the perfect clinic, and just how we were practical in our approach as to who was going to carry first. You also have to be quite practical when you're choosing a clinic, and one of the things that you really need to consider is where the clinic is. So I would absolutely recommend the clinic that we were treated at and have done so. But if you don't live around the corner from us, there's probably not much use. So what I would be more inclined to do was to recommend the type of IVF that we had. We're really, really big advocates for mild IVF, which is the type of treatment that Lynsey had. So mild IVF essentially is less drugs, basically. It's all mapped out through your natural cycle. So there's not an awful lot of down regulation. In fact, there is no down regulation. You start your medication on like the second day of your cycle. It's a real, the real focus is on quality versus quantity. So we never went into our mild IVF knowing that we would get like 15, 20 eggs. That was never the aim. The aim was to come out with a few really brilliant ones. And then one of those became Teddy.
That's what we'd like to hear.
Yeah.
But we can also, if any of the people watching this needs a clinic recommendation, we can always do that. If they contact us, we're happy to do that. And also we know which treatments are being offered at which clinics, so that's also something we can offer guidance in terms of that. But that's a very nice explanation of the mild IVF. Yeah,
got to keep it simple.
Yes. The next question I got was, when and how do you address the questions, or when do you begin telling your child that they have two mummies?
That's an interesting one, because I don't think, we haven't told him, because it's just his life, right? He knows. He has a mammy and a mummy. That's how we differentiate between the two. That's what Lynsey's from the north of England, and that's what they call their mums in the north, mam.
Okay, that's why.
So she's mam and I'm mum. The north-south divide. So yeah, I guess it's more of a conversation actually with Teddy about the fact that not everyone has two mums, because he doesn't know any different. But also, we're really, really close to our family. And we don't have a huge extended family, but we have a family who are all straight. So his cousins have a mum and a dad. So it's just a kind of conversation. It's just ongoing learning, I guess. And we have books, and we've already started reading Teddy books about stories with families who have two mums or two dads or one mum, or maybe they live with grandma. So we have those books, and we'll just continue to read those to him. We want to, we want him to understand how his family is different. I think you have to give that information to your children, so that they don't just like trot off into the world and then they're confronted with the reality that actually their family isn't the same as everybody else's. So we want to make sure that he understands that his family is, or that people might perceive his family to be a bit different. And so we'll just continue to read those books. We just got a really great one. Can I remember the author's name? No, not off the top of my head, but it's called The Family Book, I think. Yes, The Family Book. There's a series of them. We got the Peace Book and the Family Book, and it's really fun, and it's just talks about the different kinds of families that exist.
Yeah, that's very nice. And it's good to have the narrative, so that when he starts going to school he can also answer questions, because maybe he gets them from the other kids that maybe they are not around families that have different compositions. And
we don't want to rely on other families as well to teach, to make sure that their kids know. We want him to be confident and self-assured and have all of the facts. We're not going to hide anything from him. We're not going to hide the fact that he has a donor. That's part of his story. We will talk to him when he's 14 months. So, I mean, you know, we
we
talk to him all day long, but, you know, he can barely say dog at the moment. So, you know, these conversations are happening, but we're not sitting down over dinner and, you know, having serious conversations about his donor, but we will, you know, just introduce it as part of the conversation. We're not going to hide anything from him.
No.
You know, we chose his donor, very, you know, very carefully. It was a journey that we went on to find the perfect person, and we're very proud of that person, and we're very proud for the role that man has played in our family. So we're not ashamed, and we're not going to hide it, and it's absolutely part of his story. We want him to confidently own that part of his story. You know, when people ask, do you have a dad? Important. No, I don't have a dad, but this is, you know, this is how my family was created. So
that's great. Yeah. What do you think is the biggest challenge you've faced as lesbian parents?
I don't know. We're really lucky. We live in London. We live in the most, you know, multicultural city in the UK. We see other two-mum families. You know, we see girls walking down the street holding hands, boys. You know, it's you know, we see all kinds of walks of life where we live, right? So it's not like we have faced any kind of overt criticism or any situations where being two mums has been an issue. I think the biggest obstacle, I guess, was becoming parents, because everything since then has just been your regular kind of parent issues. You know, heat wave, baby can't cope, been up all night, you know, that kind of just everyday parenting problems. He tripped over a few weeks ago, we ended up in A&E, just that kind of stuff. Is that those are our parenting stories, really. So the biggest issue of being two women has just been the process of getting pregnant, and that was definitely more difficult than we expected. We were so naive. We were like, oh, you know, we don't really need fertility treatment. It's just we don't have any sperm, so we just need help with that area. And then we went and, you know, we had 4 IUIs before our IVF, and when that didn't work, you know, there was definitely that was a slap around the face and brought us back to reality of like, oh, actually, you know, your age is an issue, perhaps. You know, we definitely underestimated that. So I guess that's been the biggest hurdle. We are absolutely, you know, lucky that we were successful on our first round of IVF, our first embryo transfer. We absolutely know that for some other people, for some other women, and, you know, straight or gay couples, that isn't always the case. So whilst at the time, you know, it felt like a long process, we know compared to other families it was relatively short. I think it took us in total 2 years to get pregnant. And that was spaced, you know, we had 4 IUIs, then we had a break. Lynsey took some time off and completely overhauled her diet and her nutrition, and I think I've mentioned this a couple of times. We're very practical people, so we approach things in a practical way. And she is a personal trainer. She is qualified in pre and postnatal training. So she's worked with women who have been pregnant, who are pregnant, who've had babies, and so she knew that the IUIs weren't working. She knew that obviously age was an issue. So she did a ton of research. She really she took some time off. She tackled her IVF head on. She was in the best condition of her life. I was so impressed. She's so determined. She overhauled her diet. She overhauled her nutrition. I mean, she was literally taking handfuls of supplements and vitamins. You know, she really took care of herself. She worked really hard, and it paid off, and she was successful on the first transfer, which is incredible. And she's got another 3, I lose count because I've also done a round of IVF. So I think in total we've got 5 embryos, 3 of Lynsey's and 2 of mine. So despite being the younger one of the 2, she actually did better on her IVF than I did. So perhaps I wasn't quite as disciplined as she was, perhaps.
well, I mean, you shouldn't. Every woman is different, and it's something we try to tell to our clients all the time, that it doesn't always work the first time.
Yeah.
And
it's
try
hard,
to
and
prepare
it's
them
so
before,
hard.
they embark on the journey, because it can. Some women are very lucky.
Yeah, it's and you know what?
It's for everyone. Yeah.
Because it's so emotionally charged, and because you're at a point when you get to IVF, you're at a point where you know this you, in your mind, this is it, this is the way it's going to happen. Yeah. And then you know, with the IUIs, our experience with that, when it didn't happen, it's just, you know, you really do put every, and even when people tell you, you know, it might not you know, it's so hard to keep a lid on those feelings, and not, because you want to go at it full pelt, and you want to put everything into it, and then when it doesn't happen, it's so hard. It's so hard. And I have the utmost respect for any woman who, you know, who puts themselves through IVF, because it is an absolute roller coaster of emotions, but absolutely worth it in the end.
Yes. So which takes us to the next question, which is, what was the number one sacrifice you made on your fertility journey?
I guess it would probably be the time off, and that's not really a sacrifice, but I think that's, for us, the break that we took in the middle of our journey. I hate that, but that's probably the best way to describe it. So was taking the time off, because Lynsey talks about mentally, after the failed IUIs, she just wasn't in the right frame of mind. And so actually the time off to take care of herself physically also had a huge impact on her mental health, and meant that she was really ready for the IVF. And also we changed a lot of things, and just headspace wise, she was just far in a much better place. So it's not really a sacrifice, but I guess the time off was for us the key.
Yes,
because
you know, change.
And if you do it,
you have to introduce in your lives to be able to accommodate it.
And if you do it month after month, you know, it's exhausting.
Yes.
You do 4 treatments back to back. It's a lot.
And also, I imagine taking time off, knowing that maybe it wasn't going to work. So how long can you also afford to be off of work? And there's many dimensions to it that make it
so much to consider. Yeah.
And not everyone has the possibility, of course. Yeah. All right. What's it like to be the other mom and not genetically related to your child?
It's so funny, because I just don't really think about the fact that we're not related on a day-to-day. He's just my baby, and that's it, really. And it's funny, I guess, in the beginning I definitely had some like weird anxiety about how other people would see me, but then someone, I think I said it to someone, and they mentioned, well, you wouldn't think that way about a woman who adopted a baby. You wouldn't see a woman who had adopted a child and then question whether or not she was able to love that baby. Well, of course you wouldn't, because, you know, actually you think, well, that's incredible and amazing, and how wonderful that woman is, and how special that relationship, I'm sure it is as well. So yeah, I kind of got over that a little bit. You know, that was kind of like my weird thing in the beginning. But I mean, he doesn't know which one of us carried him. Like today, he's, you know, just seeking me out wherever he can. He's not feeling 100% today, and he just wants to cuddle me the whole time. And then other days he'll just want Lynsey. So I mean, he doesn't. I just don't even think about it. It's just, he's just my child. He's my son, and I love him.
Yes, and we can all see that.
I'm a bit obsessed with him, actually. That's the truth.
Well,
I think he's the best.
Natural. Yes.
Yeah.
And So how was it when you chose the donor? What was the most important aspect for you guys? Because we hear a lot from some of our clients that sometimes they choose a donor who resembles the mom that will be carrying, or sometimes the other mom. Or what was the most important factors for you when you chose?
Well, we definitely went on another journey. We're always on these journeys, but in the beginning, when we were looking for a donor, I was like, well, they must be olive skinned like I am, and Lynsey always says you're not olive skinned. I like to think I'm more tan than I am. I was like, well, they have to have dark hair, dark eyes, and it was all about the aesthetics for me. And we had one donor when we were doing our IUIs. Then when that didn't work, we literally changed everything. We changed treatment, we changed donor, we changed clinics, we changed the lot. And when we were looking for our new donor, at that point we were, pushing like 8 or 9 months into like the actual fertility treatment, the actual cycles. And when we started talking, we realized that our priorities had changed. And I think it was one afternoon, I was spending time with my sister. Now, my sister looks like me, dark hair, dark eyes. My niece has blonde, curly hair. And I was looking at the two of them and I thought, well, she doesn't, my niece does look like us. She's definitely got, we're definitely related. But her hair is this wild, curly, blonde mop.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, so why is it so important to me that our future child has dark eyes and dark hair? Like that doesn't matter anymore. And so then when we started looking, we wanted someone who their interests and their life was more aligned with ours. So we started looking for someone who was creative, someone musical, someone who was athletic. So those were it was like the personality traits and the way of life became more interesting to us. And so in the end, that's how we chose our donor.
Yeah.
We call him Music Man. That's his name.
That's very cute.
The Music
so
Man,
very into music and musicality and rhythm and dance, maybe.
Right.
Yeah,
so
I hope artistic profile.
Yeah. So hopefully he'll be very happy that we take Teddy to music class every weekend. Well, we did before we were in lockdown. So we're hoping that some of that musicality will come out in Teddy.
Oh, it must have been hard in lockdown with 14-month-old.
Yeah, it was definitely challenging.
Yeah.
More challenging than I thought, actually. In the beginning, I was like, this is it. He's the perfect age. He doesn't, we don't have to don't have to tell him he can't go out. We just won't take him out. But then after a while, we were all, we live in a smallish apartment. It's been difficult. But he's back at nursery now with his pals. So
that's nice. Yeah, it helps.
Living his best life, yeah.
The next question is a little bit irrelevant, but I'll ask it anyway. Did you pick an anonymous or a non-anonymous donor? And I think this must come from Denmark, because in Denmark, you can choose whether to have an anonymous or a non-anonymous donor. And I know in the UK it's not an option.
Yeah.
If you want to answer that, I'll let you.
Yeah, so in, like you say, in the UK, the regulation for sperm donors is that they have to be contactable in the future. So whilst our donor is anonymous in the sense that he could walk past us in the street and we would not know, when Teddy is 18, he is able to access contact details. And so and that is the regulation in the UK, and that's actually something that we're really happy with. And I think if we were given the choice, that is what we would choose. We want to, and we hope, and our dreams, I don't know if this is perhaps naive on my part, but we really hope that when Teddy and any of his siblings are able to contact their donor, that that we can all go and meet this man and say thank you, and this is the family that we created, and and thank him for his part in that. We want it to be you know, as we were talking about earlier, we want it to be an open, healthy conversation. We don't want there to be any, you know, secret about how he was conceived.
Right.
And so hopefully when he's 18, he'll be, you know, a sensible guy who can just, you know, write a nice letter and say, thanks, I've had a really good life, hopefully.
Right. And this is being asked, and as you know, in other countries, it's the law is that they have to be anonymous, and in, for example, Denmark, you can choose. It's the parents' right to choose whether they want to choose. So it's very different, and it's very it really determines the choices of many people, whether there is a legislation on it.
Yeah.
So. So I just thought I'd ask anyway, because there are many probably watching some that are from another country as well. Were you considering other options like a friend or adoption, co-parenting?
I don't know whether this is selfish on my part, but I had reservations about using a known donor, just because I wasn't entirely sure how I would feel. I mean, we have people who we could have asked and who I think would have at least considered it being our donor. But I thought, oh, how will I feel if we're all in the room together and there's this person who is related to my child but I'm not? And I think I feel differently about it now. And I think our approach to all of this, you know, it's evolving. You know, we know so much more now than we did in the beginning, and your perspectives change over time, especially now that he's here. But I had reservations in the beginning because I wasn't just sure how I would be able to deal with it. And I think, I'm not sure whether that is a completely selfish move on my part to not, you know, have someone who was readily available throughout Teddy's life. So I hope we've made the right decision. But that is the truth about why we had reservations. I think it was me mainly.
But it sounds like you thought it through and you considered it.
Right. It was definitely.
And it wasn't the right option for you at that time.
Yeah.
Which is, also understandable. And then you already answered this one, but you do want siblings for Teddy.
Yes.
So, but did you reserve extra sperm from your donor? Do you have that readily available when it's your turn?
Well, actually, what we did was I have already done the first part of IVF. So I have got 2 embryos created, with the same donor. So hopefully I will be lucky enough to get pregnant using one of those embryos. If not, then Lynsey has 3 more. So I would try and get pregnant with one of her embryos. So ideally, we would like, I would like to biologically have a child. But again, what I have realized raising Teddy is that is less important to me now than it was before. So I would like to be pregnant and experience that. But whether or not I am pregnant with one of my own embryos or one of Lynsey's embryos is neither here nor there.
Second priority,
Right.
In terms of,
In fact, the idea of being pregnant with one of Lynsey's embryos is just nice. It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's amazing that it is possible. It's amazing that we've come so far.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on Teddy. I was just watching videos before, and he's completely adorable.
He is cute.
Yes, and well, I think that those were all the questions we had. It's been extremely nice to meet you and very enlightening to learn about your journey. That you don't like that word.
I mean, it's what other word is there? Yeah.
And we can't wait to share this with our followers and with your followers. And thank you very much for today.
It was so nice to meet you, and it's so nice to be here. And I really hope that some of that is useful to people who are just kind of starting out and looking around. For everyone who's watching, we wish you all of the best with your fertility treatment, and it's hard but worth it. So good luck.
Yes. So if you want to follow Lisa and Lynsey, it's called Teddy Has Two Mams with an A on YouTube.
We'll see you there.
Yeah, see you. Bye.